Peace. Make sure I got this position. Great. Greetings to all. Um, let me see. Greetings to all. Um, give honor to Source. Give gratitude to the all, to the, you know, clap it up for yourself. I have a very interesting topic at hand that I want to discuss. This is my first time, I believe, trying to do a video with music. I just try to set the intentions differently this time in a different environment. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of jazz music. A huge fan of John Coltrane, who I did not know was actually from a small town that I've been, well, not from the same small town, but from a small town in North Carolina. Had no idea that John Coltrane was from this area. If you don't know who John Coltrane is, look him up. He is amazing. What you're probably hearing now is this is a sentimental mood. I don't own the rights to this music because I don't know how YouTube may respond to that, but Duke Ellington and John Coltrane. It's just I love jazz vibe. I love all different genres of music, but something about just jazz. And this song is one of my favorite songs, a sentimental mood, in a sentimental mood. But okay, so what I really came to talk to you guys about is I got this on audio because before I start even getting into what I need to get to, I want to make sure that no commercials or whatever ads come on before I do this. Just probably put on some Miles Davis. So yeah, y'all bear with me. Okay, I'll just do that and just turn this down. So yeah, there's an article I came across, but I'm trying to tell you, I'm doing something new, like the music thing. Like I said, I love Miles Davis is oh my gosh, a genius. One thing I do value about artistry and just anyone that knows of the arts, just anything, is that I always sit back and just like myself, I can sit back and realize how much someone really had to go through to even be where they are, to even create these masterpieces, create this artistry, or to sometime have this connect to the divine, have this connection to something that could usher in such amazing like creation. So, even I myself speaking from an artist, a person that creates, writer, poet, so forth, artistry and speaking, it's all forms. I feel like creation is in all forms, but just from my experience, alone, it's some of your darkest moments, some of my most transformative creations or masterpieces have come from some of my most deepest pain, deepest wounds or whatever. So with that, it just really makes me sit back and be like, wow, how, not with envy and jealousy or anything, just sit back and be like, how did they, how big are they lungs? I really go into depth, this man plays the trumpet. So I'm like, How are you doing this? Where do you get this from? So it immediately makes me think on a grander scale that we all something come from something bigger than what we are. No matter the illusion of this God complex that people want to make it seem like they're more valuable than others, and in reality, I feel that's far from the truth. But it's a lot of it again just going to relate to the topic at hand. One of the things I've been diving more deep into is let me pull up this article. What does he call it? Like astrology. There's different topics like astrology. Is that the air? I'm assuming it is. Yeah, astrology. There was another name that comes from it. Like you got astrology, and then you have I forgot the other name, but just some things that I've been like aligning with more so, or like a lot of things resonate with me more, like as I came into the years of being on my what you want to call spiritual path, healing path, and so forth. Just learning more about like the zodiacs, astrology, and just other things that, again, I feel what aligns with me, like my belief system and so forth. I'm not at all trying to tell and push nothing on no one. I'm sharing this article because a lot of things I realized to the depths about how I feel emotionally, I can connect, those things to like the current, or present moments, whether in my life and so forth. Now, this is not, again, to tell people like, you don't gotta believe whatever it is, like, that's just go, like, live your life, so forth. I'm not at all trying to convince them, and even with my channel, project anything onto someone to convince them like this is what you're supposed to do. Not at all. So, but I, have been coming more into like what we know as the Aquarian age, and then seeing this transition and seeing the process of like being like an observer in a way to see how my life has changed, the ones around me, and humanity, like individually and collectively. So that being said, what I'm going to talk about is for those that are familiar with astrology, or or those that probably aren't, maybe there's something I shared that may highlight or bring some type of awareness to your life. Again, it's not about judgment, it's not about criticism, it's just simply about a lot of us coming, or some of us coming to like, we can maybe comprehend on something. Just because your belief system maybe this doesn't mean like I don't have to respect who you are or you're less valuable. So this, I would say some people, some other videos or people that I've seen talked about this transit that is very important, I feel. That's why I want to discuss it. You're talking about a Pluto, some may say right now in Western astrology, let's say that, is Pluto is shifting or has already shifted into Aquarius. And, I've been looking at like what they call Vedic astrology. And Vedic is more of like, you can research these things. Vedic is more so, they call this Western, so I'm assuming that has been like Eastern, or like more like, I know that it's typically focused from like India, and it's proclaimed to be more ancient or more older than what Western astrology has been. But again, I look into things to see what can I learn, or see, the knowledge and wisdom, what could I gain from it. It's not at all trying to say like I'm obsessed with certain things, because I ain't one of them people to be like, oh man, I gotta look at this every day to make sure da. No, from what I've got from it, I really think it's very amazing, because it really challenges myself to like me knowing people that are of different nationalities and cultures, and just hearing what they study. No judgment, but it's like to see what could I learn. It's like an almost enlightening to learn about, oh, this is what you study. Oh, wow, this is how you live. This is what you eat, blah, blah, blah. So it's like things like that to where, again, if you don't feel led, I don't pressure no one into doing it. But what I'm going to talk about, I feel right now, presently, that it's very challenging when it has been in the past very challenging before I even led up to talk about things like this, because I realized like once you're coming out of something, there's always like a new world of learning something that other people can relate to. And so being that I come from a so-called religious background, or being in that background in the roots of that, I still somehow know how to like still connect, take that from my pain or my darkness or even the beauty of that and blossom into where I am now. So it's not at all discrediting anyone's beliefs. I'm going to speak about more focus on the transition, the transformation, the rebirth, and so forth as I read it. Again, this comes from masteringthezodiac.com, and masteringthezodiac.com, and it says the global impact of the Pluto in Capricorn. Again, in Western astrology, people may say Pluto in Aquarius. This one, I was like, let me read into both. And, I saw similarities, but at the same moment, I could see how it all, again, connects. That's what I'm getting at. It's like the oneness of how even what we have experienced, are experienced, and will experience somehow connects us all. Boom, bam, bing. So again, let me get into it. So I'm gonna just read some of these things, and I'm gonna just give you probably my backstory, or my, just my expression on everything, or so forth. So, this is so new, because I'll tell you, I ain't never did music to something like this. But Miles Davis is amazing, genius. Oh my gosh. So it says Pluto's shift into Capricorn. Pluto, the planet of transformation and profound change, is making his shift into Capricorn in February in the true sidereal astrology. So again, what I'm speaking about is like you have astrology, then you have what some may call sidereal. And this global event marks the beginning of a transformative period. Let me turn this down a little bit. Transformative period from the next 17 years, some may say 20. While Pluto is in Capricorn until 2041. Capricorn signifies, now I want y'all to pay attention to this now, like be aware. This is something I'm sitting back and be like, oh, okay, now I see how a lot of stuff, boom, is like a domino effect. It says Capricorn signifies authority, structure, and tradition. Now I want you to stop for a moment and ponder on, when you see authority, I'm talking about not just from the micro to the macro, meaning like from where you are to like your community, where individually your family, your community, what else? Governmentally, globally, and then some may say, I could say like as above, so below, like all, spiritually and so forth. All levels of things. So authority, structure, and tradition. With Pluto, the planet of transformation and change, we can expect a significant alteration in our political, economic, and social systems on a global scale. It is a time for rebirth and restructuring, a time when the old world as we know it gives way to the new. So again, you're talking about a cleansing. Those that aren't aware, I'm bringing it to you, a cleansing or a rebirth, or what some may see as a panic right now, because this is how it's divinely orchestrated. Because you probably have seen videos, people talk about, oh, that, the frequency is rising, where everything is changing. Again, it's like the same language in a way. Some may call it end of times. Religious people may call it the coming of so-called Christ. You have some people may say the Christ consciousness. You have a lot of people saying a lot of things into the bigger, again, to the grand scale of all of it. it's individually and collectively, we all are affected by something. It's all going to have a ripple effect on something. So when it's talking about political, economical, and social, what's happening and what has been revealed to me, but what I'm observing from my own perspective and what from my lens is that I'm seeing the corruption being exposed, and that's more I'll dive into. And again, I came across this article. I was like, I just want to make a video about it because it's just, I feel like it's just the way it breaks down things or just so forth. I can put it into depth or let people know, like, okay, take a moment, breathe. Everything is happening as it is. It's happening for the greater good. Life ain't happening to you, but actually for us, for you. So again, when you seen the corruption, again, the old world had people believing or the illusion that everything was all right. These people had our best interests at heart. This God complex, these hierarchies, or this false illusion of all these things being perfect or stable or even balanced, and that was far from the truth. So again, how that affects on the micro and macro level, all of us, a part of this grand awakening, some may call it, is for us, a lot of us, to again come in and create this change or this shift, and individually we are all a part of it. So I'll read on, and it says that again, okay, when it says it's a time of rebirth and restructuring, a time when the old gives way to the new. I was telling someone, I'm like, there was a point in time again where I was on my journey where the hustle and bustle life, the American dream and so forth, thought I was supposed to live, thought I was supposed to, the basketball, thought I was supposed to do things the artist way. And this whole time, a lot of these career focuses of what I thought I was supposed to give so much of my energy to, is what I'm going to get into, is I was going through a lot of my own experience at being prepared now to do what I love, to do what is in alignment, to do what's purposeful for me. Because again, if there's presently a reconstructing or restructuring of the old foundations of the old world, then we are right here now, popcorn in hand, watching things crumble. That's why some of us are able to sit back, observe, and go with the flow of life, because a part of our awakening is coming to that realization like, oh my gosh, I need not to force nothing. I need to just go with the change. I need to be, this uncomfortability is a part of what is being shifted. This has always happened and will always, happen, because that's the process of evolution. That's what is happening, not only within us, but outwardly. This is what we're seeing, the evolution of everything economically, socially, what else? The authority, all these things, tradition, what we knew as tradition. And I'm going to read on as it says that the historical context, history, the last time Pluto entered Capricorn was in 1776, a period that marked significant change globally. This era was characterized by a transition from monarchies to republic and democratic forms of government. This was the birth of the United States as what we know it, of America, and the beginning of a revolution. Might need to slide this over. Of a revolution. I do not want to hear no comment. Let me see if I can get this to stand up right here. Yeah. Oh. Come on, stand up. Perfect. This was, what was that? This was a birth. This was the United States of America. This was the birth, 1776. For those that don't know, the Constitution, so forth. Rah, rah, rah. This was the birth of the United States of America and the beginning of revolutions across the world. This led to completely new societal structures across all foundations of society. We saw a complete change to our societal structures from economics, science, technology, religion. etc. A time when ideas of the Age of Enlightenment were put into place by world at large. Okay, first let me start off by saying this. When it says this era was characterized by the transition from the monarchies. Okay, those of you that don't know, a lot of people's mindset are just solely focused on government, community. Again, this is all levels of things because everyone don't think the same. Everyone don't do anything the same. But this is why, like, I bring y'all into the oneness and how we're all are puzzle pieces from the smallest atoms to the biggest molecules and so forth, micro to macro. Again, monarchy. For those that don't know, again, America, from what has been told, has a lot of hidden treasure. For one, you hear about kingdoms and you hear about kingdoms. Then most people don't know. Again, the things I share, you don't have to believe. Just go research it on your own. If it does resonate, I love you. I appreciate you. You hear about kingdoms, and then some people know of queendoms. Then there also is left out chiefdoms, meaning that there were chiefs, or you hear these terms of like priests or high priest or a lot of things in a sorcery way or royalty aspect. And that's the thing that, again, are the missing elements or that has been portrayed or projected to a people, this illusion. The people, when you see most of it, seem like they didn't have a lot of power. But as they start to progress or come into this knowingness of what they were connected to, who they're connected to ancestrally, spiritually, this is a lot of things that people miss out on or misinterpreted. One thing that I realized, again, I always tell people the origins of everything are melanated, for one. So when I noticed this, I started to realize, like, okay, what is it saying here? So I'm like, okay, if this happened, then what happened before that? Like, you're talking about 1776, before the establishment. So for one, it said this: the cycle prior, Pluto entered Capricorn in 1528. This marked the beginning of an age of exploration and colonialism. Y'all bear with me, because certain words, let me tell you something. I don't I don't have no issue, but let me tell you something. I am a great reader, but I ain't gonna sit here and just shoot it with you and be like, yo, some words I'll look at and be like, I can say that in my head. I ain't the only one. But some words I'll be like, I remember there was one word, I'm gonna get back on the topic. I remember I was in so-called elementary, whatever they see. I used to say elementary. Some people. I used to have a issue with saying, I used to say food instead of fruit. And when I used to go through the lunch line as a little kid, man, I was so afraid to just go there, knowing that was the first thing I really wanted. I used to go through that and be like, try to make the lunch lady be like, yo, that what I really want. You say it for me, because I'm gonna be a little tongue tied. But this is what I started to love about myself. It's like, it ain't no such thing as really messing up or whatever. I'll just be like, I'm going to say it the best way I can. Southerner or whatever you want to call it. Some people, I'm like, look, if you have, they call it speech impediment, man, it's the same language. Everything you say, whatever, I feel like you said it to the best of your ability. Give yourself credit, boo-boo. Okay, gotcha. So let me say this. The exploration led to, okay, I'm going to start back. The cycle prior, Pluto entered Capricorn in 1528. This marked the beginning of the age of exploration and colonialism. The exploration led to colonization of new lands and sea routes by Europe and Asia. Like I said, y'all don't got to believe this. This is just something I felt led to, and this is shared. So again, the exploration led to the colonization of new lands and sea routes by Europe and Asia, and establishments of new empires across the world. Okay, pinpoint that. Because for one, there's so much like I love saying oversaturated when it really comes to this thing highlighted with black and white. This is why I stay away from it. I stay so far away from when people like love to just throw division in something. I stay away so far away from division because again, from growing up in it and being around it so much, whether it was religion, whether it was growing up in environments that were predominantly like darker shaded people and so forth. For one, it says the exploration led to colonization of new lands and sea routes by Europe and Asia. Now, for those, and into establishments of new empires across the world. Let me tell y'all about this age of Aquarius, what it is highlighting. I used to sit back and I tell people, I'm like, okay, this is for all you that just, sometimes y'all mind don't, sometimes a lot of y'all dark people just got a lighter skin or Caucasian, whatever you want to call it, person in your head or psychologically, you can't get past that. And then some of y'all people that are light or whatever your nationality, y'all got this scarcity around dark people. Not everybody, or y'all just have this automatically mindset that we all come from some type of slavery. Everyone has this programming, not everyone, but people have been programmed psychologically to actually believe that. To each his own. But let me be the first to say this. Scientifically, the origins of everything is dark. I've said this before. So I had to tell people, who do you think began the captivity? Who do you think began the massacres, this what y'all call slavery? Who do you think, common sense, began these things? The corruptions around that, the greed, the so forth. Who do you think? I'm not going to tell y'all, but who do you think begin these things? Because Europe and Asia, again, if you go look to the origins of these things when you look in, and this was going to be exposed, and this is why a lot of judgment karmically is coming to a lot of these lands when it comes to China, Asia, all these continents, a lot of these places. That's why a lot of these things that's happened is a lot of, when I say judgment, that means a lot of exposure for a new, for a rebirth or, a new empire, a new way of being societally, so forth, as I'm going to dive in, can be created. Because people in Asia or over there, they know that historically or whatever's on their walls or whatever, they know the origins of a lot of that. Those emperors, empress, and people, they were melanated. They had hair like me, afros, and so forth. Same thing with Europe. Some people may call them the Moors and so forth. Anglo-Saxons. All of those different areas that was the origins of darker colored people. So again, these things, migration, colonization, exploration, exploring, ships, traveling, has always been happening, people. It's just what you have been fed. You have been fed, some may call it a lot. You have been fed things that were, you've been getting half truths, what they call it, and whole lies. Hey, so again, let's see here. This was also a time that could be classified as, this is right around 1528, they say. This was also a time that could be classified as a complete transformation of the world at large. Similar to how the Age of Enlightenment, which was ideas were applied in the late 1700s. This was a time when the ideas of the Renaissance were put into play. Global changes, and this again, this is just I told you where you can find this. I'm just like breaking this down because I feel like it would just help a lot of people who just so forth. It really will help you navigate right now and explain again everything, whether karmically, a lot of the cleansing, the exposure during this Aquarian age, whatever you want to call it, is being exposed right now. So again, political restructuring. The combination of Pluto's transformative energy, and those that know about Pluto, the planet, secrets, darkness, transformation, rebirth, so forth. The combination of The combination of Pluto's transformative energy and Capricorn's association with authority. So again, Capricorn, for those that know about to depth, I'm not gonna go too much in it. But again, what I find very significant is that you can research this, that the U.S. was created supposedly on Cancerian energy. That's very significant. And then since Cancer is opposite Capricorn, that's very significant. So I feel like a lot of things that so much is just like universal law. You have your laws of land and all this stuff that's created. The abuse and power is where I'm getting at. Is that this is what it's talking about. A lot of things that I'll talk about more, how there has been an abuse of power and the corruption that's been exposed behind that abuse of power. So universal law is what you put out, you get back. So I am not at all surprised with what is unfolding because of the energy that has been put forth towards people, humanity, all the way from the individual all the way up, micro, I can tell you, to macro. So the combination of Pluto's transformative energy and Capricorn's association with authority and structure could lead to significant changes in political systems worldwide. This could involve shifts in power dynamics, emergence of new political systems, and a complete change in how we govern society. For one, if you pay very close attention, I don't watch a lot of news, but a lot of stuff has to be revealed because, again, it's hand in hand with everybody. Everybody's playing a role in this. But for those that do and are aware, even if you do watch it, whether you believe in this and that or not, there's still some significance to where certain characters are exposing certain things. I always tell people, here come this person saying specifically, Trump, well, make America great. And I would tell people, if he said make America great, what was great about it before? Because see, what most don't know that significantly about America is that when you really look at the backstory of a lot of it, again, energetically wise, it's so focused on, the war, the greed, the power, the illusion of power, the bullying, and so forth, like narcissism, control. Okay, you get all that energy, and what do you think, the what we call spiritual life, what do you think is how that shit gonna backfire? That meaning like, and it's not always just like it's gonna be like this crazy, I don't know. I'm not, but at the same moment, I'm not surprised to where you put emphasis on certain people, especially what, let's say, darker skinned people have went through in America. Not everybody, because again, what a lot of you don't see is that, like I spoken before, who taught who? So a lot of what's hidden is a hand that you don't see, who's puppeteering a lot of people who you perceive as being another race, when in actuality, like they say, it be your own. But I ain't gonna get into depth about that. But anywho, a lot of these people, depending on what they're here to do, they are here to call out, because that's the exposure of the Aquarian age. And when you're transitioning and coming to something anew, everything that has been hidden underneath the stone, underneath the rug, no stone goes unturned. So a lot of things that have been hidden in regards to how this country, these structures, these systems, society that had came to be, shall be exposed for its inauthenticity. And the foundations right now, as you see, are crumbling right before you. And so those who choose to hold on to that also go with it. Just what it is. I mean, hey. So again, this could involve shifts in power dynamic, emergence of new political systems, and a complete change in how we govern society. Countries that exercise more control of their citizens could see a birth of a greater freedom and individual liberty. I think I'm going to read that shit for y'all again, because a lot of y'all ain't get that. Countries that exercise more control over their citizens could see a birth of greater freedoms and individual liberties. I would like to say sovereignty. while countries with existing freedoms could could see a change on how those freedoms are exercised or applied. So again, it's two sides to a coin, but there's polarity. You have to see as just as much, because I tell people this negative positive thing has been so misinterpreted, because again, I always go back to the battery. The battery has a positive and it has a negative. So for one, those things we perceive as negative, I just believe in my belief system is that someone either has ill intentions, bad intentions for you, or good intentions. So when we look at a country or a state of people and say, okay, I'm gonna use melanated people or men, melanated men for instance. When I see how the world has conducted themselves in the programming around what I stand for as a melanated man, as a dark man, it hasn't been upheld in a way of freedom, sovereignty, or even, a popular theme for people to embrace and love. So that's the so-called negative. Now, the positive aspect of how that backfires is what you're seeing now. Because again, some may assume like, oh, he's uneducated, or he don't have this, or, all these things that are far from value, my true value, or our true value as people that's not just out beyond the surface of skin, but again, from that perspective of how we have been perceived as men that are darker, to be just criminals, stereotypes around just basketball, things that, again, that try to uphold this false narrative or this inauthenticity of just simply being a human being, or just being a man that honors his emotions, who is emotionally intelligent, who values all people, no matter nationality, color, and so forth. Most importantly, himself. So a lot of that, again, there's a upside to it. No matter how much the downside, there's going to be now what people aren't aware of, a backfire in a way. It's like these things that people wanted to do now, I'm just sitting back like, wow, life ain't happening to me. And see, that's the illusion that wanted to be given off. Like, oh my gosh, they, wanted me to play victim, and oh my God, this is happening to me. In actuality, it's happening for me. This is how I'm being able and trying to show the mindset of how, you can't tell me that we were in slavery, but in my mind, I was like, hold on, pause. That has to be a mind thing. I'm no longer attached to that idea or mentally held captive of the opinions of a foundation of a country and or people or whomever to say that I have to believe or accept that. Nah. You got you fucked up, not me. So anywho, getting back to this. Now we're going to talk about economic evolution. The entry of Pluto in Capricorn could trigger significant shifts in global economy, similar to how we saw globally in the late 1700s and mid 1500s. This could lead to the rise of new industries, the decline in established ones. I want y'all to pay attention now. And the restructuring of global economic systems. On a macro level, the current economic system could be overhauled. Look up overhaul. It's like, I see that presently. When you look at the economic system, all across the board, housing, food, so forth, everything. There's this overhaul or this push like rapidly. And look how, the food and stuff, GMO, a lot of stuff, that's this overhaul. Building homes that are not made out of anything. They're like, what do I call it? Or you can that plywood. I'll drive by or see they're throwing up the home stuff so fast, or they pushing the product so fast. Again, what do they call that? Quality over quantity. So it's like there's no depth or quality to a lot of it. It's just the quantity. It's like so much of it, but it has no value. Now you better pay attention like that. That's a message right there. A lot of you don't realize that. Like, so again, what's happening with this transition is that a lot of things you see individually, a rise of new industries could happen, and the decline in established ones, and the restructuring of a global economic system. On a micro level, the current economic system could be in an overhaul. We're seeing that right now. On a micro level, businesses and corporations currently in power could see their end. I'm telling you, I'm sitting back and I be just sitting here seeing all these people that do, and this is no attack on one, because again, there's a lesson in all of it. No matter where you are, I'm telling you, this could be for everybody no matter where you are. This is the thing about, I was saying to myself, what is low class, middle class, and high class? Who has given y'all this narrative? This is an equal playing field. The oneness of all of this is that no matter who has this career-wise, money, and so forth, who has told you what lower class and mid class and high class? Who's giving you this narrative? Because in reality, a lot of people who have had a lot of these things, and if they do, who determines you're less valuable? Because somebody, again, can live in a shack or can live in this and still see their value, their infinite potential, their value in just simply being, rather than trying to portray to the world. Because I can say this, all millionaires are not the same, or all people that have businesses are not the same. It's, again, when it says on the micro level, businesses and corporations currently in power could see their end with the array of new ones being born. Well, we see that all the time. You see the entrepreneurship now, the individuality. You know, the Aquarian age is like not just the authenticity, the humanitarian, but it's also a reflection of the individual, and then, you know, the collective as well. So a lot of these corporations, again, run by greed, so focused on, you know, the hustling people, manipulating them. Again, you're talking about a country that pride themselves on these things. So everything is happening, again, from the micro to the micro to the macro level. So with that, like I said, I go around, I see certain businesses, just like, this is what's not being told. You will see a lot of businesses that are in like probably already bankrupt or going into bankruptcy. You're seeing the housing market. You're seeing a lot of things like industry, farms. Let me tell you, this is a huge major shift that I'm expressing to y'all. And you're talking about a shift in power internally, externally, as above, so below. And so that's why it was brought to my awareness, because, you know, this is for people who receive this. The thing with, I could say like this, I just see things that now, from my awareness from where I am, it's like everything is literally divinely orchestrated, to where when the things start going around like that and people start wearing the masks and so forth, I looked at that as like on a level of, I start to put my mind like, okay, if a computer has a virus, then a virus needs to be cleansed, or a virus comes because that computer needs to upgrade, or that something in that system, you know, malfunctions, so something needs to upgrade. I see that now, giving you this analogy on how the world is going through that same upgrade, going through that same evolution, inwardly, outwardly, so forth. You're having an upgrade in your life. Some people are having a downgrade. But it all depends on, again, when you're talking about levels of things, do you want to stay where you are? Do you want to outgrow? Do you want to evolve? So it's like on every levels. Are you willing to change? Are you willing to become uncomfortable? A lot of those things is just like when we have a transition or a death. That puts a lot of us in an uncomfortable position, because whether it's someone close to us, near and dear, or so forth, it has some type of impact or has some type of ripple effect. So again, this is not me pointing out things to attack no one that has someone that have been affected by certain things, some type of dis-ease or anything. I'm expressing to you again how the evolution of how, astronomically, or, with astrology, things are also on a scientific level. All these things are ushering in a huge evolution, not just for us, but for the generation that came before us and after us. They are affected more. I was talking to someone. Let me tell you who really going through it right now. I would say like around 60s, 70s, like people that really like, let's say, the ones that like I would say our grandmothers. Basically, I say a lot of elders around, like I say like 50, 60, 70. They are seeing the world as they knew. I'm telling you, the world as they knew. Because a lot of what they were living in and was established had a lot to do, whether they're unaware of the programming or not, had a lot to do with control, with manipulation. They argue you up and down because they were in that programming of the old world, the matrix, or whatever it is, a part of those tricks and a part of those schemes and a part of that, narcissistic template, control, all of those things again that ushered in and played a major part into who we are. And then we also play a role again as we're establishing a new world, our world someday, whatever our world looks like presently, our world someday, because we're just a bridge, just like they were a bridge. That's why I don't attack at all the elders that came before us. It's like I'm not at all surprised when they just give up or they feel like they can't, do much. Because you have to realize that a lot of things that they used to do, either they're having a hard time or a difficult time accepting it. That the world is changing when it comes to the monetary system, again, economically, when you're talking about societally and so forth. And even during those moments where that so-called people wearing a mask and all like that shifted so much spiritually, material, physically and so forth. That affected everyone. That affected everyone to where it brought more attention. It's like a spiritual aspect for those that know. A lot of things in a way would seem to be prophesied. That's the things that really brought people together. Those are things that really made people face their shadows themselves, their greatest fears. It really made people face who they were. And then people even perceive, some of these elders still perceive that things were going back to normal even after that. And it's never going to do it. It's never going back to what it was. This is why you see a lot of what sister would say, like shadow slinging or projecting and so forth, because these people, elders, their greatest fears they're facing them right now. The fear of change, of uncomfortability, of, the things that they used to do and the things they love are now changing. The kids, their family, all these things, it's being brought right to their doors, like knocking on them, their baggage. The things that they wanted to ignore and so forth. All those things right now, with a lot of elders, they're being faced with. And this is what I had to learn to step back. Spirit say, step back. Because a lot of their projections, a lot of these things they're angry with, they're not angry with you. They're angry at a lot of stuff that they didn't even know. When I talk about spiritually or internally, the demons and whatever they've been running from, whatever you want to call it, they've been running from themselves for so long to where now it catches up with them. And now that it's caught up with them, you're talking about a whole shift that we're all experiencing. And so now they look at us crazy, those of us that are like late 20s, early 30s, or late 30s, or whatever you want to call it. In our awareness, or what we call spiritual awakening, we're starting to reconnect with things, whoever you are, like ancestral things, or starting to hold people accountable. Most importantly, holding our elders accountable. And so it seems to them like it's a huge attack. It's a huge attack on who do you think I am? And in reality, they think we're attacking them. But what it is, we're breaking generational chains and curses. So a part of a lot of these things economically and socially and so forth that's happening, this global shift, there are those that know that on a ethereal level, on a spiritual level, that this is for the greater good of humanity. This is for my lineage. This is for my ancestors. This is for, things that, these elders don't want to see. They're running from constantly. So it's like you can't make them see it. That can be one of the most challenging things. You want to make them see it, but that's the beauty in still walking this path, speaking your truth and so forth, and standing in your truth. Because some of you and some of us are the new leaders or new leaders, yes, in our communities, in our homes, in these environments where it seems like we lost everything for everything to be replaced. Because again, the elders before, and just like ancestors that I talk about, they all were a part of ushering in the new way, the new wave, the new world, the new way of being. And how do you do that? You have to break away from the old, or the old has to make way for the new. This has always been. Will always be. When I see my mother, my father, when I see me, and when I see my princess, and if I have other kids and so forth, they're a bridge. And ancestrally, what was carried on and what happened, it's not unfortunate. I just realized they were too responsible to the best of they were capable of to do what they could for me. Whether that was to be there or not, whether they felt, they could only use the tools that they had and so forth. It's no difference in where we are now. A lot of us, it's like we're using the tools that we were given. This is why when people are like, oh, why you don't have this, you a man or da-da-da-da. Again, this is their programming, a part of their programming. It's like a computer. Their programming is like let's say they're 50, 60. So let's say, not going to do the year that fast. Let's say they were birthed in 1950 or 40, 60, 70, something. It's like a computer. They were giving their programming. That whatever they went through was a part of their programming. Until they got to us when they had a baby and birthed us. Again, through that whole process, it reprogrammed their mind. When that baby came, it made them change things. Either they ran from their responsibilities or they took the responsibility head on with being there. Either way, whatever they went through, mama, especially matriarchally, in the womb, when we were in the womb, whatever we went through, we carried again until her giving us birth, our moms bringing us here. We still carry those things, whatever our father, patriarchally, matriarchally, our mothers and grandmothers, we carry those things right within our bodies, DNA structure and so forth. And, and now we're here. And so whether there are whatever vices, spiritual warfare and so forth people went through, we are here now to also face those very fears, or, it may not look the same, but our perspectives are going to be completely different, because the world at large, or the world as we know, is completely different than what they used to live in 1950, 60, 70. A lot of them dealt with a lot of, hardship when it came to like the so-called illusions of war, and a lot of them were at war with themselves. So a lot of them didn't, grow up in the age of a lot of peace, or a lot of us now are here to usher in that, the oneness, to get along with people that just because they don't look the same, just because they may not be the same culture and so forth. And that's what I'm going to read on too. So again, it's a deep acceptance that a part of breaking generational curses and so forth is also accepting that you are not to carry your mother's and father's burdens. You are a part of, some things that the ancestors or certain people didn't face, whether our mothers and fathers, those that came before us. A lot of us are here not to carry them, but also some things that is fucking frustrating for me is that I'm like, why didn't y'all face this? Those that know internally, like spiritually, it's like we are still unpacking, or still have to unpack not only our stuff, but the stuff generationally that the vices and whatever they didn't face, or they were afraid to. So before people judge and project about society and where we are in like a void state, or in a major shift to where everything that looked like this, I'm talking about structurally, it's completely changing. And whether people want to accept it or not, to each his own. This is where they get left behind, and you walking into a whole new world, a whole new reality, a whole new way, whole new system. And so that's what I'm gonna finish on, because boy, I be going. Let me see, where was I at? Okay, so social transformation. As we've seen, Pluto shift can have a profound effect on social fabrics of society around the world. Issues relating to power, control, and authority, pretty much what I've been saying, could come to a forefront, leading to increased activism and the establishment of new social norms. Existing scientific and religious structures could see an overhaul. I see that right now. I was telling someone, when I'm in the car, I don't like to listen to a lot of radio, but when I'm listening to it, it's always something like pertaining to, and this is my experience, there's a lot of things centered around like religious things. You know, it's like an overhaul, like literally pushing it. And this is what people don't want to accept, which again, a part of the old way is that's what that world was built upon. So it's like a lot of us that are coming into our awakening, breaking free, coming into our own individuality, our own belief systems, our own values, what we choose to live in. It's because we're being restored and taking back our power. We're breaking the social norm or no living, like those of you, a lot of us that came from the religious beliefs, religious structures, or scientific structures, as it say. A lot of us are reshaping that, reinventing that for ourselves, for those, our descendants, the people that come after us, and so forth. So again, you will see this overhaul in this, to where even some people will attack some people that just because they're spiritual. Like I've been attacked to say, oh, this person is a cult. Like people will say all this because you got to realize, a part of the old world, this was one of the most sought after structures, or the main structures of the old world, which was religion. And what a lot of people don't want to face and accept, which again is bringing things to their reality, whether they want to change it or not, or that's not for us to do and to decide, is that no matter what, a lot of us coming into those individually see the control, the manipulation around how religion, not our religion, but how religion in itself has so much of a impact on people's mental well-being, spiritual well-being, emotional well-being, and so in their physical, to where they couldn't expand beyond that, to where their life was just centered around that. Again, no judgment, but it's different for a lot of us because that's just who we are. So it says that, or this is what we came here to do and came here to be. So it says systems currently in place that have a strong influence over society, such as a mainstream media, church, and scientific institutions could end. The old is making way for new. It's just what it is. While freer independent systems could emerge. Again, things that are built around like the freedom, or, taking back your power, the sovereignty of, that you can be who you are without needing these structures or institutions to try to govern your govern your mind. And this could result in a shift in societal values, with new ideas and beliefs emerging as the old ones are challenged and discarded. It's just what it is. Like I said, there are things that I can read in other books and resonate with and so forth. Because I realized that was, again, a part of who I am and becoming the old version of me, or something that represented my ancestors, and, they use it, but everyone didn't use it for the same thing. So, and that's what it says, like, again, mainstream media, seeing the corruption, and also how, how has this had so much influence on us psychologically when it comes to church, mainstream media, these institutions, no matter what. How has it influenced us to keep us from really being who we are? And challenging that, and then afraid of discarding or removing it. So It says individual impacts. This planetary shift will also have a significant impact on the individuals, meaning yourself. Understanding the broader themes at play can help us prepare for changes that may affect our personal lives, such as personal transformation. As the world undergoes significant shifts, we will likely notice shifts in our own values and beliefs. This could involve reevaluating our priorities and embracing new ways of thinking. Honestly, that is amazing because it's when I read that, it's like with everything that's happening, whether you see the monetary system, whether you see the housing and so forth, as much as we don't think it has an effect, it has an effect either on us, it will have an effect on us and also our kids. So this can change our values and how we see each other, most importantly, humanity at a whole, and the value of all these things: monetary system, housing, so forth, food, and reevaluating our priorities, like with ourselves, prioritizing our tribe, our people, and now unifying or coming together to realize like, okay, this didn't work. And that's the most difficult thing that I challenge with in my own way of being and coming into this. I was not one to try to do the 9 to 5. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was not the one that tried to do what everyone else was doing. And it really started to click where I was giving, certain visions or giving insight on like, you're not here to do that. I grieved, I cried, I did a lot of things to accept, like, why isn't this working? Why, And then when I be led into something that I thought I was called to do, I would see the corruption in it. I would see the politics. I would see the manipulation in a lot of the system, the structures, again, whether in the community, governments, and so forth. And with that, I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? It's like we're not realizing like everything is being stripped and being rebuilt, like literally. And so that was happening in my life because a lot of people reflected those same things that I did not value. But through those experiences, I was going through things and I was like, oh my God, you believe in this or, so forth, but I see the world differently. So it can be a challenge for a lot of people that haven't accepted that, especially the ones you love. And then here you are with a whole different belief system. Here you are with core values. Here you are with things that do not represent anything of the old world or the old way of being or people that no longer serve you and so forth. And it's a huge challenge because it's like, man, here I am trying to prioritize myself, self-love, healing these ancestral wounds, healing these things that most people don't know what it is to try to accept and stuff. And so, I'm not comprehending or like trying to comprehend what people prioritize. And you're just sitting across the table from someone like, yo, that. And so having to speak up, having to be honest with myself and walk away. No matter who it is, it don't matter who it is. And, that leads me to where I'm about to read about now, career changes. And it says like the economic changes resulting from Pluto's entry in Capricorn may create new career opportunities, particularly in the new or emerging industries. Staying informed about economic trends can help us position ourselves for success in an evolving economic landscape. So that right there was, again, having to remove myself, having thought that this was supposed to be my career, having assuming like this what I'm supposed to do, whether peer pressure, listening to people, we went through it, and I was like, what am I supposed to be doing? And I realized this, what I'm doing now. When it says like really like how, because again, Pluto in itself in Capricorn, when you talk about power structures all the way from individual and so forth, this reflects in your life from people who had controlling issues. So that's a power struggle between you and mom in the home or you growing up or whatever in your childhood. Then you talk about structures. So you talk about the foundation that these inauthentic things that were built upon, school systems, so forth, everything. So seeing the corruption in it, not just individually in home, but on all levels. So there's a restructuring in all of that. And so that was the most challenging thing because I saw people that didn't prioritize, or see people, in my past that didn't prioritize self-love. It's been a journey till I got here, but it was like I had to go through that. The personal transformation, the rebirth within myself, the purging and so forth, to even talk about this, to even come to this awareness of, am I doing what the world wants me to do? Or who am I before anyone told me who to be? And so with that, I had to decide to where, okay, are you ready to allow everything to be stripped away from you? That was source. The creator was like, okay, naked you came in, in this world, and naked you shall leave. And I start to reference that and then ponder on. I'm like, okay, what do you mean? Because it's like in the spirit, in a way of like how we didn't come here to be so focused on possessing or attaching ourselves to all these things. Again, because I see attachment in like literally having in your, like, just rather being attached to it. I can see the attachment to the suffering it has caused when you look at humanity. It's like a lot of people suffer from, they feel like they don't have a lot of this because of what? Or, there's an attachment to that causes suffering because they're not secure or centered in, within themselves, or stable emotionally, so forth, mentally, spiritually, and so forth, to where no matter if they have it, do they have peace, most importantly. And so a lot of the stages and phases I was going through life brought me to that. Brought me to, I'm going to show you that without this money, can you find peace? Or I'm going to show you, even if you don't have this, can you gather the strength and courage through, have the strength within yourself to still make an effort to create something from your own power, from within yourself. And so when I look at societal norms and see what it is to be a man and how you're supposed to have all this and do all this, and hearing it from people who don't even have it, and most of the majority of America or people, and for them to even buy into these illusions with, you talking about celebrities and how people project their lifestyles, and how we all, a lot of us been so, again, the old world, so caught up in the hustle and bustle, the rat race, and not really solely focus on our own priorities, our own well-being, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, how we have not only abandoned ourselves, but a society. These structures have abandoned us. They don't care if you are healthy mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, so forth. So this is where you see a change in a lot of values. You see a lot of change in beliefs, so forth, and career. So next it talks about, again, what I'm about to talk about now, relationships. The societal transformations taking place during this time can affect our relationships. As our value shifts, we may connect with new people who share our newfound beliefs and ideas. It is also provides an opportunity for growth and deepen our existing relationships. So that's beautiful, because when it says relationship, we automatically think with someone else, but in reality, the most important one is with ourselves. So when that's the one thing I realized when I saw it, I was like, the relationship with myself first. Again, value what I value, somebody else, someone may value more relationship with an external God or something, rather than me. I may value and believe that, my belief system that is the source, or all the things, God or so forth, is everything is within you, your intuition, so forth. So that relationship for me with myself is more valuable than someone else. Again, no judgment. So when I see the relationship aspect, I realize like, okay, it says our values shift and we may connect with new people. And I'm very much aware of that. So again, when you see your relationships, some people may come into their awakening or deeper awareness. Their values may change. They no longer want to be in religion and so forth. This can affect your homes. This can affect your relationship with kids. A lot of us that, some people are caregivers, your marriages, everything. This is a part of the awakening, or, because what we thought we were assigned to assume on a grander scale, it's like you came here, your soul or whatever, your spirit, you came here to do something more on an elevated, individually. You came to regain your power, to step into something, to regain, maybe you want to go into some type of spiritual practice. Maybe you want to walk away from religion. Maybe you want to, it could be anything to where the community you live in, the people that you're around, you may see, because I'm going to tell you from my experience, from being in a neighborhood growing up that was predominantly darker, right? But again, I could see the mentality of people so solely focused on what I've talked about in another video, like so much of religion that they're so far away from their own individuality, so far away from really being themselves and knowing what it is to love themselves. So that naturally, I start to observe it like this no longer serves me. Like I have to align with people who see the world like I do. There's no judgment on nobody else, but that's just my belief, my value, what brings me joy within myself and so forth. Who aligns with that? Who wants to have fun? So I realized how many relationships that affected, and I had to accept it, grieve through it, and move forward regardless. And with that, I had to realize, like, through that rejection was for my protection, to align me with those who accept it. That was beautiful. But and that starts with me accepting me, then attracting people who also accept, those things that accept or respect my value system. Like, again, we don't have to look the same, have the same beliefs and so forth, but does that mean we got to disrespect each other? Does that mean I got to judge you for what you choose to believe in? If there isn't any ill intent, or, you're trying to wish, anything like that, it's simply like living harmonious amongst each other. So, again, from my experience of growing up in a darker neighborhood and then experiencing communities where it's predominantly like lighter skinned people, to where not only is a culture shock, we don't have to have the same beliefs, but obviously our values don't reflect. And what I mean by that is, like, you do have people that do not value melanated people. It's not all of them, but you do have people that are darker that don't even value melanated people. You got people that are darker, don't even value their own, or people that look like them, or so forth, because of their own internal core values. Because a lot of their internal core values are not built upon authenticity and integrity. A lot of their core values, I'm going to be real, their beliefs and so forth. When we talk about beliefs and values, we're talking about people core values. Some people value, they don't want to deal with people, or date other people outside of their race or whatever, anything like that. They don't care to interact with people that are lighter or so forth, unless they have to, if it's in a workplace and career. I'm telling you, but outside of that, they don't want to interact. These are people. You got elders. You got people that really like that. They won't even speak. I've dealt with that. It doesn't bother me. In the past, did it? Yeah, because I knew within myself, my heart, and who I just wanted to be at peace or get along with people. But that doesn't mean everybody desires it or has, that same belief system. Again, some people will believe in a religion or have certain beliefs in whatever it is, and they will purposely not want to interact with someone just because they don't believe in the same deity, God, or higher power than they do. And, that's where a lot of, depending on how emotionally intelligent or how mature people are, or whether they know their own power or, stand in their own truth, they will allow that to dictate their world or how they view the world, rather than someone who, such as myself, be like, I don't give a fuck if you like me or not. It is what it is. Over here, it is what it is. Like, I accept me. I'm beautiful. I'm divine. I'm flourishing. No matter what, I'm prospering. Having peace in itself is progressing and so forth. My life is still abundant. I have everything. I'm grateful, regardless. I'm grateful you showed me that you don't. So that just also showed me, and I don't know who need to hear this, but that rejection is not only for your protection, but that's not your people. That's why whoever listens to this and so forth, everyone won't have the same viewpoint. But those who resonate on a soul level, those to the depth, it will be aligned with them. And I don't have to, I'm not here forcing it. But the old world, they will force and push the narrative, the religion, the institution, like all these things onto people without them knowing how it is to think for themselves. And then the structure, how it was built, they would work, do so much to where they didn't have time to think. They didn't have time to sit with their emotions. They didn't have time to do stuff. And see, that's what's happening with a lot of our elders and so forth. They're now being able to sit down, a lot of them, now finally facing their emotion, now finally realizing that a lot of stuff that they did, and this is their frustration and anger. They never really lived out a life of fulfillment. They allow other people to fulfill their life. And even in that, it was never fulfilled. I know some people pissed at me now for no reason, just because I'm not doing. I had elders, family members pissed because I wouldn't go do what they felt I needed to do. But I'm doing what I love now, and it's in alignment, and it brings me peace, joy, because that's what's within me. And I had to be a part of who was not at peace. Going to work. I create. They go to work. They do all those things. They do these things that are not fulfilling, and they know that. I'm not here to choose that for them. My life is fulfilled because I'm full, because I'm whole. That's my decision. I accept that. Every time I get up and rise, I'm like, you know what? I choose to rise in gratitude. Was it always like that? No, because when I grew up in my environment, I realized these people were not only unfulfilled, but they were not happy with the life that they were living. A lot of our caregivers felt like their kids were burdened because they didn't want to have us. But the divine said otherwise. That child has a purpose. You have a purpose. That child, some of you, I guess this is just coming. For those of you that felt like you was a burden, you were never a fucking burden. No matter what your caregivers say, because I feel like some of us felt like a burden to our own society, to our own country, especially as melanated men, dark men. It's like, you know how much courage, I had to tell someone, you know how much courage it is to stand up and be myself and to speak up and to say these things where it seems like you're in a world, it feels like you can be a burden to everyone. Until my princess arrived and I saw that, you know what? I'm here to break that generational cycle, because even though, we could have had caregivers that wasn't more responsible as they should have been or loved themselves or chose to heal, we need not do the same thing. I chose not to do that. I said, you know what? No, she's not a burden no matter how, she was created and so forth, because I'm not a burden. How I feel is just as important as how our descendants or kids feel. How you feel is just as important. See, the old world wanted us to believe that whole illusion, and this is why our beliefs and values are changing, because the old world did not value us. Let me make that very clear. The old world and what we knew it did not value us, because look at a lot of our caregivers. I'm not saying everyone, but when I look at the structures and so forth, it did not value who we were when it came to our nationality, our culture. It did not value who we were, in our community settings. It did not value who we were. It did not reflect that. And this is why this shit is falling apart and crumbling, because a lot of us are here to reinvent ourselves, recreate ourselves, refine ourselves through this whole process. We are the diamond. We have always been the diamond in the rough. And now some of our caregivers and people and family always knew that. And they chose not to support, but that's okay, because we get our support from, some may say God, the Most High, or Source. We get our support from that. And we are resources of that source. So no matter what and who has tried to dim our light, we are here to do that. There is no stopping it. And this is where a lot of people now are going to be sitting on the bleachers or have front row VIP seats or whatever to be able to see your ass flourish, to be able to see us now blossom. And they may see it as like, oh, I wish I could. It don't even matter. None of that matters. They also see the thing about us now. We also still see them blossom. They just don't see it. They don't see the flower and the importance of how we came to be. See, some of that, see, this is why they say, see that same tree, ancestral tree, family tree, we still are a part of it, but that doesn't mean we have to continue to be, to continue the rotten ass behavior. We don't have to continue to do that. We here to plant seeds of prosperity, abundance, of growth, of evolution, of authenticity. And so that is challenging for people who haven't lived in that. And so their shadows or whatever is going to show up. Their insecurities are loud. Let me get on with this, man. So it says preparing for the shift. And this is where we're going to conclude here. It says understanding that the potential impacts of Pluto entry in Capricorn can help us prepare, again, for the changes ahead and that we're large. And we have the opportunity to grow and evolve alongside it. By being open to change, to evolution, we can navigate this transformative period in a constructive and healthy way. See, before, I can't ignore, this is the thing about where I'm at now. I cannot ignore the unhealthy patterns of what I saw. Because I also was a part of recycling the unhealthy patterns. So I realized, hold on, this shit stops with me. It has to stop with me. I'm not finna continue this. And it doesn't have to. Because it stops with you. You are the stopping point for those unhealthy patterns, for those generational curses, for those things economically, structurally, power, all those things that I've listed here that has been talked about. When it comes to authority, structure, and tradition, all the things that the corruption, all the things, dealing with the old way of being, you are that phoenix. Everything that was sent to destroy and to destroy you, you are that phoenix now. We are that phoenix that's rising from the ashes. Because that's what this word, like, it's literally ashes. It's literally like, in a way, like burning up in a way, or like being destroyed mentally, spiritually, and so forth. It's literally right before it's happening. And some of us are here, you're not here to fix it. It's nothing to fix. It's about allowing it. How you going to fix a fire? You don't fix a fire. You cannot destroy a phoenix. You don't fix a fire. You can either fan the fire. You can either fan the fire, and it all depends on the perspective. And I'm going to leave y'all with this analogy. It all depends on the perspective of the fire that you're fanning. See, some people either, and this is why certain people here have their serve their purpose. You got people who are angry and upset with what life has given them and so forth. They play the victim. These are the people who, how could I say this? These are the people that it all depends on the perspective. These are the ones that let's say that to them the fire is like an issue, and these are the one again that play victim, but these are the one that's pouring gas into the fire, and the fire is just growing. They see playing the victim or just playing a role of like not seeing beyond how the fire can serve its purpose to keep others warm or to help other people spread, how could I say this? Like they have a thing to where they burn up certain things so that the soil can be renewed or something like that. There's something dealing with the word not coming to me right now. But again, it has its purpose. So you have people that see the fire or seeing the transformation as a problem. And these are the ones that complain or don't want to change and shift. And that's just really, in my perspective, adding fuel to the fire. Angry, and it's a balance. And then you got ones that see the purpose in the fire to help all of us stay warm, or to help, it expand in a way to where someone may get something and hold a light to it. I mean, something to it to light another fire. You know what I'm saying? To help others. Again, it's perception and perspective, how we all see it. And that's the balance between all of this. So I had to learn with all of this to not only give myself grace through this transition, but to give others grace, the ones that have no idea what's going on, the ones that are clueless or some that are delusional and don't want to accept it. So, and that's what it is, to each his own. But in doing this and going through this, it's like that's one of the most challenging things. Is surrendering, is realizing like the energy of light or the representation of the phoenix. Again, there was things in our path, a lot of us, that was sent to destroy us. Those of you that know to the depths, whether it was certain foundations, like you can relate this to your childhood, your upbringing, even being a man that's darker, and there's so many things. It's not just that, because I can look at things again from different levels. I can see it like, okay, it started like that, like from my childhood, having an abusive family, having a verbal, physical, and so forth, having to survive that. That was one of the things that led me to be, it's like in this energy of nothing can, a thing that was sent to destroy me. Then, going through these schools that did not value me or see my value. It's all about what they wanted to project or assume that I should be or represent myself in this so-called world or fake world or inauthentic place. Then, it looks different for everyone. Then learning that process of a lot of those things were sent to destroy me because I developed these patterns of, seeking pleasure, seeking validation and approval of these authority figures from these structures that, again, that did not reflect authenticity, that did not reflect who I was, my divine value, let's say that, or what, how source see me as. And so again, going through these moments that seemed dark, it was only preparing me. I still was that flame in the darkness. I still, and as I got through life, navigated through, my flame just became bigger. Because I started to realize like no one could dim my light, my flame. No one can put it out. Nothing or no one. And that goes for you. Nothing or no one could dim your light. Nothing. It may be perceived that way. But when you realize that you're connected to something that's beyond this physical plane, that's beyond this physical world, there is something in us all that cannot be put out, that cannot be destroyed. And that's the beauty of knowing who you are and what you're here to do. And also accepting that a lot of people don't know who they are. They won't come to that knowing. They're afraid of it because they're afraid of facing the truth of who they are, or owning up to the truth of who they are, owning themselves. They don't know what that is. And so it's not our place to force it as it was forced upon us, projected. It's just a life of really doing your best to navigate the best way you know how, and knowing how to be who you are through all of those moments and shift, no matter what has been, no matter what has been projected, no matter what lies are told, no matter, none of that. Because it says, be ye not conformed to this world. So a lot of things that others want us to conform to, deep down within you, you were never sent here to do that. And that's one of the most challenging things that could be for a lot of us. Because I know myself, I would never tell, me being honored to have a child, to tell them like, this is who you're supposed to be. You gotta be this or else you're a failure. You gotta be this or else you're not great. You're not amazing. And that's been the most ignorant shit that has been going out here, because we've allowed the world to tell us who we are. We've allowed society, we've allowed our mothers and people to tell us. But if you know you're a caregiver and you have a child, your child has never once told you who to be and how to be. Because the innocence and the importance of a child is that they reflect that purity of the divine. They reflect that innocence. They reflect back what we are being restored with, so we can be that bridge for them, so we can continue pour seeds into them, so they can also continue that legacy of authenticity this time. Truth. Things that, we're being restored to our value, core values that reflect integrity. Not just behind closed doors, but out there in the communities, leader, whatever it is, so that they know that they don't have to fear this world. There's nothing to fear here. It's okay for them to grow up, we all were scared, but it's nothing to fear to where we cannot face it and realize, like, with love, with authenticity, all things are possible. So I gotta go. And I appreciate you all. Take care of you. Remember, emotionally, mentally, spirit, so forth. No more abandoning who you are and how you should show up for you. And remember, the most important thing, the kids, they're watching. They're watching. No matter who you try to fake and portray to the world, that shit is over with. I don't care who it is. That is over with. It is what it is. Peace and blessings. Shalom.